Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another speed build. Today's video is a build for my Disney save file. So if you don't know, I am starting a save file for The Sims 4 and I'm very excited about it, and actually a lot of you are too, which was a little bit surprising to me. I just sort of thought that this was going to be my passion project, and even if it didn't get a good response, I was just going to go with it because I was really excited about doing this. And so many of you had such brilliant, amazing ideas and were really on board for the idea of this save file, and you guys have given me so many amazing things to build and ideas, and I have been taking a lot of your recommendations, writing them all down, and sort of planning out the whole save file so that I can kind of figure out which direction I'm going, you know, like what movies are going where. So I wanted to say thank you first of all for the amazing reaction, and also just for you guys sharing a lot of your ideas and your favorite movies and stuff with me, so that I can, one, not only get some really creative things in my save file that I might not have had otherwise, and also include some movies that I kind of forget about from time to time, and you guys were like, oh, don't forget this movie, and try and do this movie, and it really got me excited for some of the ones that could have gotten skipped if people didn't say anything. So I do want to say, continue leaving me recommendations under all of my Disney save file videos. I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to include everybody's idea, and I'm not saying that I'm particularly going that way anyway, but I do really appreciate a lot of you guys contributing, and I have written down so many of them, so don't be surprised if you see something from my comment section all of a sudden in a video form, because you guys are just amazing and you had the best ideas. So thank you so much. But today's video is actually the second build. So if you missed the first one, I do have a playlist. It will be linked at the end of the video, and all of the future videos will go into that playlist. So I'm really excited to have that available for anybody who wants to catch up until this point. But basically, every single build, family, and story lore in my Disney save file is going to be Disney related and or themed, or a shout out to some kind of Disney reference. So a lot of you were mentioning The Princess and the Frog, and it makes a lot of sense because we are starting in Willow Creek, and I don't know if you guys knew this, and it's just something that I never knew, but a long time ago I was doing this other series, and it was called my state building series, where I do different houses based after different states. I'm not done with that series. It's kind of been on pause for a while because I lost a little bit of interest in it, and I'm sort of waiting to regain that in order to dive back into it. But one of the houses that I did do was a state house for Louisiana, and I picked this world not for any particular reason other than some of the plants sort of reminded me of maybe some of the stuff you would see in Louisiana. It gave me slight Louisiana vibes. So then I was doing a lot of research on the different worlds for The Sims 4 and kind of Googling what worlds were based after which locations. And I guess it's kind of officially known that Willow Creek is based after Louisiana, specifically New Orleans. So obviously The Princess and the Frog taking place in New Orleans is huge, and we have to do as many Princess and the Frog builds as I can possibly fit here. So I'm actually planning quite a few builds. I want to do a few different restaurants. I'm going to do some houses from some different characters. We'll probably do something for Tiana, something for Charlotte. I haven't determined every single little thing yet, but there was one thing that kind of stood out that I knew I wanted to do, and it was this really big idea that gives my story and my save file a little bit more lore, because although this is based after Disney, there is going to be a lot of myself and my own stories and my own ideas put into it. So there is going to be some lore inside my file that doesn't really come from the Disney universe. It's just my spin or my twist on the story. So if you clicked on this video and you saw this build and you know what I'm building currently, you might be a little bit confused on, one, why would I build a Princess and the Frog restaurant that isn't called Tiana's Palace? Why would I just call it Tiana's? And two, why does it look nothing like the Princess and the Frog restaurant? And that's because I decided to do this fun little idea. So there's so many lots in the game, and I think that maybe people don't know how many lots there are. There are hundreds of lots for me to fill, so I can get away with quite a few Princess and the Frog builds in Willow Creek and not be pressed at all to do a bunch of other ideas in different worlds. So I wanted to do 2 restaurants, and they are going to be rival restaurants. So this idea comes from in The Princess and the Frog. Tiana starts out the movie and she has a restaurant that she would like to open from the sugar mill. She has like this idea in her head of what it's going to look like. At the end of the movie, the magic man shows her like a vision of her restaurant. It's all gold, sparkly, very high end. You can see how everything is decorated, and it doesn't end up looking like that in the end because she opens up her restaurant and Naveen is like a little bit more of a part of it, and they open up something that's similar but not what she had envisioned originally. And I had this great idea to do rivaling restaurants that are right across the street from one another, and one of them is going to be called Tiana's, which is the one we are currently building, and the other one is going to be called Tiana's Palace. So the story goes, Tiana's Palace was actually their first. It is Tiana's actual restaurant. I will do that in a separate speed build, and it will be mostly in reference to how her restaurant actually comes out at the end of the movie. And this company saw that she was having a ton of success. They saw that she was playing into the jazz themes, the Louisiana and New Orleans vibes, and really having like a successful restaurant. And so as like the world can sometimes be very evil and very bad, people will see opportunities like that and try to take advantage of them the best that they can. So a mysterious person decided to open up a very suspiciously similar restaurant right across the street from Tiana's Palace, and they called it Tiana's. And it is so similarly shaped. It is very similarly done, except Tiana's is a high-end dinner restaurant only, and Tiana's Palace is going to be a little bit more casual and obviously differently themed and differently colored. But this is like your fancy night out, you're gonna spend a lot of money, go to a high-end Louisiana style restaurant. So this is like obviously Tiana's worst nightmare, because if you open up a restaurant, it's anybody's worst nightmare. If you open up a restaurant and somebody opens up something down the block that's very similar to yours, you're gonna lose business, especially when something opens and it is more like new and fresh and people are really excited about it. They'll tend to go there for a little while and feel it out. Whether it actually stays that way remains to be seen. However, this place just opened, and yeah, Tiana is definitely feeling the effects from having this restaurant open directly across from hers. She's not happy about it. They are trying to kind of figure out who opened up this restaurant, who would do this, and figure out if there's anything that they can do about it. But Tiana in general is just a very good-natured person as well. So, and she is like a diehard hard worker. Like, she will totally make the best of any situation. So part of her is really angry. Part of her is also just kind of like, you know what? My restaurant is amazing. It's beautiful. It's everything I ever wanted it to be. And it will stand the test of time, versus this place across the way that, yes, they've stolen a lot of my ideas. Yes, they've sort of taken my theme and maybe put a little bit more money into it. Maybe they have some investors and some resources that I don't right now. But I am going to make sure that the quality of my restaurant stays on par and that we have nothing to worry about on the long term. So as far as the save file goes, that's kind of up to you how you want to play with that, what you want to do with it. My plan is I want to insert a lot of lore, a lot of little storylines, and some already predetermined stuff into the save file. So whoever owns this restaurant, once I determine who it's going to be, I haven't really decided if I'm going to make it the magic man that opens this restaurant. For some reason, that idea doesn't stand out to me. Like, I would like to do something a little bit more creative. But once I determine who owns this restaurant, I do want to create like a little bit of a rivalry between that person and Tiana, and like insert those stats into the game. Like, they already have sort of bad chemistry and they're not very happy with one another, and it will just be interesting in general to see if you were to play in the save file. And I'm curious as well, once these two restaurants are built, which do the Sims seem to prefer? Like, which ones cause more random prompts, like, let's go here, or which one causes a better experience, which one gets a better rating? Obviously, them both being restaurants, it does have to have dine out in order for it to work, and to my knowledge, dine out is a little bit buggy, so it might be a little bit tough, but I plan on giving both restaurants to separate people as actual businesses that they can own. And yeah, I haven't sort of determined who's going to get ownership over this place, but I am really excited to give it to somebody. So if you guys kind of can think of a character for maybe me to create that obviously relates to Disney lore that you feel like would own this restaurant, it doesn't have to be from Princess and the Frog, and they might not even own a house in my save file. I'm kind of trying to figure it all out. I'm in the planning phases right now, and I don't want to give everything away either. Like, I have some worlds that are already sort of coming together, and I know what I'm going to do with them, but I don't want everything to be given away right now. I want to sort of surprise you guys over time. So yeah, give me your recommendations down below. Definitely let me know who you think should own the restaurant, and let me know what you think of the whole story that I've given these. And the other restaurant, Tiana's Palace, I will do it in a separate video. I'm not sure if it's going to be the next Disney file video. We will see. It kind of depends on what I feel like building that morning when I wake up, because if I don't do it that way, I will never ever finish the save file. So it always has to be like what I'm most interested in doing. But yeah, I do plan on doing quite a few Princess and the Frog related builds. I probably will do some kind of like Louisiana style mansion for Charlotte. One of you had suggested doing a really cool like little pink and pretty shop for her. Maybe she owns it, or maybe it's just something that she really enjoys having in town. Something very over the top as Charlotte's character is. And then I want to do like a couple of different homes for Tiana. We'll sort of see how it develops. So to actually get into the details of the build a little bit, I have Disney Plus. And I was really excited about Disney Plus because one of the things that's most aggravating when trying to do recreations or references to any type of media, it doesn't have to be Disney, is trying to find accurate screenshots quickly. Because yes, I can sit down and like watch the whole movie, the whole show, whatever it may be, and take screenshots individually, but it's so aggravating to do that. It takes up so much time. I need something quickly. If I'm like sitting here and I'm going to build something and I'm like, okay, I need to know generally what type of tile was on the floor in the restaurant that Tiana sees in the vision at the end of the movie. That's a very specific thing. And one thing that I have noticed from doing these builds and from just being like, from dabbling in all sorts of fandoms, like I'm definitely a fandom type of person myself. I love Disney, Star Wars, Pokemon, all sorts of stuff. From being involved in different fandoms, if you get something wrong, particularly in a recreation, I get so many comments. That's the bulk of my comments. It's just people calling me out on getting things wrong. And I never mean to do it, obviously, but I always strive to just create the best scenario for myself and give myself the best chance. So for this build, I knew I wanted to try and get the tiling right. I wanted to get some references to that original restaurant. There's a lot of detail there that's shown in that vision, and I didn't want to miss any of it because that's the best way that I'm going to get a true shout out to that movie that's very recognizable. And I went on my Disney Plus app on my phone, and I was so excited because I have my crystal clear visuals of all of the things that I get to take screenshots of, and I was so excited. And Disney Plus has this block on iPhone. I have never seen this before, but you cannot take screenshots of anything playing. Actually, I think Hulu might have put that in as well. You cannot screen record. You can't take screenshots. I was blown away. And I'm doing it for probably the most, I don't know what to say, the most decent reasons. I'm not putting it anywhere. I'm not stealing it for any particular reason. I'm not re-uploading it and giving it away for free. I pay for Disney Plus. I literally just want to see what the floor looks like. But it wouldn't let me take screenshots. And yes, I can just scroll through the movie and sort of build and scroll through, but it's tedious. So that was really annoying. I ended up having to look up a less clear version on YouTube of the movie playing, and that still I was able to see a lot of little details of her envisioned restaurant, which yes, it is going to be called, or it was supposed to be called, Tiana's Place. However, I decided that Tiana's was a little bit more of a shorter, more sophisticated, maybe a little bit more high-end of a name versus doing Tiana's Place and Tiana's Palace right across the street from each other. It's a little too close in name, meaning that I figured when people were playing and maybe prompts come up and people are like, let's go to Tiana's Place, in your head you might think it's Tiana's Palace, and it was just a little bit too close to share the name. So Tiana's versus Tiana's Palace is going to work out a lot better. But yeah, there were a lot of little details that I knew I wanted to get. There were tons of golds. There was red draping all over the walls. There was a double level where you could sort of eat up top on some balconies. It's actually very similarly designed interiorly to how I did Belle's library, which is not obviously intentional. I didn't plan this build before I did the library, so they ended up looking very similar, which was a little unfortunate on my part. I would have liked to have done two builds that were slightly different back to back. Didn't end up working out. That's okay. This one still has a lot of its own character, a lot of its own details that are very significant to the Princess and the Frog. I've hidden frogs in this build in a few places. I want to really overdo the frog aspect in Tiana's actual restaurant. I don't want to take anything away from her restaurant. So more frogs over there. They're just like lightly done in this place. This place is more of like a recreation from the movie. One of the details I noticed is that the tables had lilies on the tables as like a centerpiece. So we have that here. The chairs were very specific. They were like gold with a dark wood trimming. That we have here as well. I did have to move around some of the windows on the exterior to get all of the drapery to line up, but I think it ended up working out really well. And another thing that you guys are not going to get to see in the video, I ended up adding more drapery to the upper portion, like where you would sit up top and have, I don't know what that would be called. It would just be like sitting on the upper deck of the restaurant. And then the grand staircase and the huge chandelier, which they actually do show in the flashback. And I think the one that she ends up with in her restaurant is not the same. Also, the one in her restaurant had like a very specific glass doming roof over the top, so they're just different. Like, there's a shape difference, there's going to be a color difference, a lighting difference. The other one's going to be a little bit more jazzy, a little bit more classic New Orleans vibes, maybe a stage where people can perform, whereas this one had like a piano, a little bit more grand and like, I don't know how to say it other than just like fine dining, I suppose. We have a very, very large kitchen, sort of simple. I am using a lot of this stuff from Realm of Magic. It just seems to fit that kind of classically gold and white accented stuff. Beautiful kitchen though. Like, I can imagine if you were a chef loving to work in a big kitchen like this with lots and lots of resources. A few slight references here and there to Princess and the Frog. Like, I wanted to include a really big pot for like her dad's gumbo pot, but again, I did feel like that was maybe an idea to reserve for her actual restaurant. So I didn't find anything in debug or anything like that. I just placed a few pots on the counter and sort of cluttered up the area just a little bit so that the kitchen doesn't look too much. I probably saved too much space for the kitchen, I guess is what I'm trying to say. One thing that I did notice that was very interesting, and I'm still trying to figure this out in my head, when in the beginning of the movie, Tiana purchases, or she's about to purchase, this old sugar mill, and she's standing in front of the building and she kind of looks up at it, and it's showing the outside of the building, and those types of shots are perfect for people like me, because that is really, really the reference that I need to get a good shape for this building. So the building is rather tall. It's a 2-story. There's a lot of stuff on top that I just took away because it was too cluttery and like very much reminiscent of the actual sugar mill and not stuff that I would keep on a restaurant. Say that I like purchased the building, I would remove all that stuff. So we removed a lot of those things, but it's very rectangular, and then there was like a separate portion of the building on the right that was a bump out. Now at the end of the movie, it shows her restaurant and how it's fully done and decorated and everything. That bump out is moved to the left side of the building. So these two are going to actually look like mirrors of one another, or inverses, I guess. They're going to be kind of flipped, because I am going to do a close recreation. I'm going to make it as functional as possible and like try and keep it a very clean cut element and just keep it functional. So it won't be identical, but I am going to have to move the bump out to the other side to get that same look. And I thought that to be kind of a continuity, like a fun little continuity error. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going crazy, but I definitely noticed that about the building in particular. You notice a lot of things like that when you do speed builds on the regular. Now, at the end of the video, I did include a little bit of footage of me just picking out the one thing you can do for restaurants in The Sims is actually choose a custom menu. So I wanted to pick things that were high-end, maybe some things that hint to being either poisonous or evil or so high-end and fine dining that they look kind of gross or inedible, to give it that weird factor and just that kind of slimy, grimy, more evil restaurant factor. Lots of cocktails, sparkling water, nothing really else, nothing for children, and a couple of desserts to round it out. Something that looks to me like something I couldn't recognize. I was just like, that looks crazy. Something you would see at a really expensive restaurant for $200 and you have no idea what you're eating. Sounds perfect. We'll put it on the menu. And the last thing you can do is actually customize the hostess, waiter and waitress, and the chef's uniforms, and I did include that footage as well. Let me know if that's something that you guys would like to see in future videos. I do plan on doing specific stuff for every single place. Obviously, you want like a very different experience depending on where you go. I am doing lot traits as well for every single one of them. For this one, I picked as one of the lot traits being having gremlins. And the description for gremlins is some weird stuff happens here. Things break all the time. It seems like dark magic, but it couldn't be, right? Or something to that extent, which I thought to be a really cool play on the idea that this restaurant is indeed owned by somebody who does not have everybody's best intentions at heart. And for the uniforms, I just picked some like 20s style flappery dresses for the hostesses and waitresses, classic uniforms, classic like white cut with gold accents, very much matching the restaurant itself. Tiana's will be a little bit more casual, but yeah, the hostess and waitresses here and the waiters wear like very, very formal clothing, and it does have a formal clothing attire stipulation when you come to the restaurant. So that is actually going to be the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of today's Disney Save video, and if you're excited to see Tiana's Palace in the future. And don't forget to keep leaving me recommendations because I absolutely have been enjoying them so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post. And I will talk to you all in the next one.